Hello. So I'm going to look at the camera a little bit. In this lesson we're going to just look at the basics of the camera, how to hold it, what some of the parts are, and actually this camera came in for cleaning, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to keep it clean. So basically what you should do is if the camera, you think your pictures are dirty, just bring the camera to me and make sure I go ahead and clean it out. I'm going to show you the parts here to start off with. We have the body of the camera and we have the lens. These are two separate elements. So you could use a normal lens like this, 18 to 55. On the lens barrel, which is called a barrel, this is where you zoom it in and out. You want to start off by seeing if this motion is nice and clean, which it is. It's fantastic. So these are we work in millimeters. This is wider. 18 is wider than 55. So this would be considered a normal lens. Close one eye, that's about 55 millimeters. 18 is a little bit wider. So you can control it that way. Up here, if you can see it, there's some settings. So you have AF, MF, so autofocus and manual focus. We're going to leave it on AF for now. We're also going to leave it on image stabilizer. And I want to leave that on, which I think it is. So it's on image stabilizer. Parts of the lens, there's about between 5 or 6 elements inside here, just like eyeglasses, right? So this is a lens element, so you have a bunch of lens elements in here, and they move back and forth to get the thing in focus. So a longer lens, like a zoom lens here, this is a telephoto. It's a 75 to 300 millimeter telephoto, and that'll give you bring the picture in much closer, right? So that's for long shots. This is for normal shooting, and this lens feels great. So that's the basics. There's a lens, autofocus, manual focus. They have a glass. Make sure all of the lenses, if you check out a camera, it does not have this little glass filter here. And I'm not going to take it off because it's pretty much on there. I can clean it off with one of these lens, just a tissue like this, a cloth, lens cloth, or I can spray it with the lens cloth, or I can use, and you'll find in your camera bags, this lens wipe. This is a piece of alcohol coated paper, and just go in and circular motion clean off your lens. Make sure it's nice and clean. I would be careful with that back piece, but you can get in there and get that. I typically will just use a blower. This is a little blower here. I'll just blow this off, make sure everything's nice and clean. So that's the lens. Here's the body. I'm going to put it back on by matching the white line here to the red dot on the camera. This goes to the left and clicks. To take off the lens, you depress this button and you turn it. Okay, so there's it. So how do I hold the camera? Keep my elbows in, kind of become a tripod for the camera. My right hand is on the grip. Right here, this is the grip. My index finger is on the shutter. So in order to activate the camera in terms of focus and light and all that, you depress this, you turn the camera on, here, on and off, right? So it's on, and you depress the shutter a little bit, and you can hear it kind of focusing as I move around. The lens is going to focus for me. That's because it's sending out a signal. It's going back through the series of mirrors, and then the microprocessor tells the camera when it's in focus. So I have my finger here. I also can control the wheel, which allows me to change settings like aperture or shutter speed and other things, right? So I can use the wheel a lot. I can also have the mode dial. So the mode dial is right here. I have it on M, and that's where I'd like you to shoot, on M. Everything's done on manual. When I depress the shutter and turn the camera on, the LED will light up, and I will see different elements on the back of that I'm working with the camera. Manual, shutter speed, aperture, ISO. So those 3 things, remember the exposure triangle we started talking about? So those 3 things are really important. If I want to change my shutter speed, I just use the wheel, and that'll change it. If I want to change my aperture, I hold down the AV button up here. That's the aperture button right there on the back of the camera. Hold that down and turn the wheel. That'll change it. If I want to change my ISO, I click on the ISO button. It'll give me a range of different things. So I'm going to start off. This camera came in. I'm going to put it back to where it was, which was 800. I'll leave it there, and they can change it. So I always bring the camera back to its original settings. So you're going to get somebody else's camera maybe. Let's see, lucky enough to get the same camera every time. Make sure you put all your settings back. Particularly, what really frustrates a lot of students is that they will change the shooting mode, right? This is a the drive for shooting, so it's going to give you single frame, continuous frame, 10-second timer. Like if self-portrait, you would set it on this, but make sure that you put it back to a single frame or continuous frame. You can also have control of the timer, and I'll talk about this in class, by simply going to C, and it'll give you a range of seconds. So you can go much longer than 10 seconds if you're slow like me. But I'm going to leave it where I think it's best, which is single shot. So you go, once you get that, it says set OK, so we're going to set it. And now we have the camera set on that. Another feature is this servo right down here, the autofocus. It's going to like be pre-programmed for different settings. So here's a one shot, which is what most people use. I like the AI focus. If I'm shooting sports, I'll be on servo. So here we'll just put it on this for her. So now that's set up. Here we can see we have automatic white balance, BW white balance. I push this and I will get a range of different settings on that. Right now it's on auto, which is fine for now. I always have to set every time I go there. So you can see here we're on, this L represents a large image quality, so it's a large JPEG, and that's where we want to be. Make sure it's on the L. To find that setting, we want to go to menu, see menu here, and you look up top. The first one we want to go over, so image quality. If I click on the image quality using the set button, it's going to give me a variety of different settings, and right now I just want to set it on large. So in my own work I always try to do raw and L, so I'm getting two copies of the image, two files, but leave it for now just on large, just for for our purposes. So there's your ISO, there's your shutter speed, and there's your aperture, and there's your mode, and your mode dial is up here. As I mentioned, mode dial is right here, and you want to leave it on M for now. On and off switch, of course, is right there, on and off switch. And so some of the other things here we have, right now we have AI focus, I set that. We have the light meter, and that is controlled by, let's see, you might have to go into the menu to change that on this camera. This little display button lets you turn it off, on and off. Don't shoot with this auto, live view. So always use your lens through your eye, right, for this class. And that's the basics. So in cleaning the camera, you want to make sure everything's nice and clean. And this is a fantastic camera. This works really well. And when I'm cleaning it, I use supplies like the tissues, like a lens cleaner. I use a special swab to get the. So I really don't want you opening the camera up and looking at the sensor. That collects a lot of dust. But if you notice, your pictures have little tiny dust bunnies in them, little blurs in the inside on when you're looking at your picture. It's most likely that the sensor is dirty. Just let me know and I will clean that. Because that's kind of tricky when you're working with the camera. You have to actually physically go in and set it on a bulb setting. Right now it's not on bulb, so I'm going to look at this. I would look at the settings and make sure it's on bulb, and this mirror would come up and I would be able to get in there and blow it off with the dust. With the bulb syringe, I blow it off. So I am always using this to clean off pieces. So I can go in and be as uninvasive, non-intrusive as much as I can when I'm cleaning the camera. So also I will clean these parts. So if you know anything dirty about the camera, just let me know, and it just takes me a few minutes to clean it off for you. Again, put the lens back on always. And there's a lens cap on this. We don't use lens caps because we get lost really easily. So we attach filters. So if you're missing a filter, let me know. All right, so that's the basic introduction just for today. Try to keep it as short as I can. Also, really quickly, I wanted to tell you about where the battery is on most cameras. Well, the cameras that we use, the battery container is right here. So be careful leaving this open because these will snap off. Battery just pops out, pushing that gray toggle in, comes out like this, goes back in like this. So what you'll do when you check out your camera is you'll have to get a battery. So don't check out a camera without a battery. You have to make sure you have one in there, and make sure it's fully charged. I'll be doing the charging here in my office. Another thing is that on most of the DSLR, this camera here has the card is in the back. So here's the card, and it's inside next to the battery. So it's all contained in there. Most of your cameras will have the window for the card will be here. The door for the SD card will be on the side. Just push that open, take the card out. And that is that. Thanks.